four. We only have 4 members online, so let's hang on a bit and give it a few more minutes.
Did you get any people that you know that weren't coming, Alex?
No, I didn't get any response, so I don't know any better at this point.
Okay.
While we're waiting, whoops. Am I muted? I don't think so. While I'm waiting, Brian, you're on our list radar to get a hold of from the Rotary Club. We just changed officers and the new president is going to be leading that colossal trip hazard removal project. So maybe if you can either send me some information or get a hold of me, or I'll get a hold of you. Let me know when's a good time to talk.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're talking about the Silverdale Waterfront Park.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I'd love to talk to you about that. Feel free to reach out to me. I can give you my cell phone or whatever that you need to initiate that.
Okay, great. Thanks. You want to send it to me in chat? That'd be great.
You got it.
We're talking about the Silverdale Waterfront Park. There's an old Rotary Club things down there that we want to remove and revamp the little display that's there.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. And
yeah, I was telling the rest of the people, giving them, you know, so they know what we're talking about.
Okay, fair enough.
I figured you knew.
Yeah, thank you. No, I'll be more than happy to share my my contact information.
Okay.
All right, Joanne, I think I counted 5, so we've hit a quorum.
Good. All right. So it is 6:02. Okay, we're going to read some stuff before we get started. Good evening. Thank you for participating in our remote regular monthly meeting of the Kitsap County Parks Board Advisory Board. We will do our best to facilitate a smooth meeting with public participation and ask that everyone be patient as we navigate this electronic platform. We have 2 formats for the participation, the Zoom web application as well as teleconference. Before we begin, I want to review some guidelines and general instructions for the meeting. Please silence your other communication devices such as cell phones or desk phones. This will ensure that we are not hearing any feedback or causing interruptions during the meeting. During the meeting, all participants on Zoom, except for board members and county staff, will be placed on mute by the host. That means that you will not be able to mute or unmute your lines manually. The chair will announce opportunities for public comment, which are included on the meeting agenda. For those of you on Zoom, if you would like to make a comment, please click on the raise your hand feature to signal that you would like to comment. The sound will be unmuted and the internet participant should announce their first and last name before speaking. The participant will be called upon to speak at the appropriate time. For those calling in using the phone line only, if you would like to make a public comment, please dial *9 on your keypad to signal that you would like to comment. The last 4 digits of the call-in number will be announced, and call-in participants should announce their first and last names before speaking. The participant will be called upon to speak at the appropriate time. Please note, you can hang up or leave the Zoom meeting at any time. Decorum. Please adhere to the speaker time limit. Please treat others with courtesy and civility and respect the public meeting process. Rules prohibiting the use of signs or posters remain in effect for video participation. Profanity, discriminatory comments, or obscene gestures is prohibited. Disorderly, unruly, or aggressive behavior that infringes upon the rights of others or disrupts the good working order of the meeting is also prohibited. Any violation of the above rules can result in your mic being muted, your video feed shut off, or you being dropped from the phone or Zoom meeting lines. Thank you for listening to these instructions, and now we will proceed with our regular agenda. Welcome to everyone, board members, staff members, and the public. We'd like to start with introductions. I think we'll start with board members. I will start. I'm Joanne Clark, South Kitsap.
Lisa Hurt, North Kitsap.
Nancy
Linda Berry.
Whitaker. Nancy Whitaker, Central Kitsap.
Linda Berry Mare, North Kitsap.
Amy Lawrence, Central Kitsap.
Amy
That's
Smalley,
all.
South Kitsap.
Okay, there's Amy. Okay, good. Okay, on to staff.
I'm Alex Wisniewski, Parks Director. Aaron, you want to go next?
Aaron Nix, Parks Planner.
Brian?
And I'm Brian Hoschel, Kitsap County Parks and a South Kitsap resident.
Chuck?
Chuck Cazzetto, Public Relations and Communications Coordinator for Kitsap County Parks.
That's a title.
I know, it's a lot to put in there.
That's a lot.
Sierra?
Hi, I'm Sierra, Natural Resources Coordinator, and I live in Central Kitsap.
Fantastic.
Welcome.
And Dee, is Dee with us?
Yes, I'm with you as the Kitsap County Parks Dee Tuttle. I am Office Support Specialist, new to the Parks Department, Kitsap resident for over 30 years.
Great.
Welcome.
And I see Sam. I don't know if that's our Sam or a visitor Sam.
It's your Sam. Sam, Kitsap Parks Natural Resource Coordinator.
All right. And that's all staff. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. First, we're going to make a motion to adopt the July 20th meeting minutes. If anyone has any corrections or remarks. No corrections or remarks? Then we'll need a motion to accept the minutes as printed.
I'll make a motion to adopt the July 20th minutes.
And I second that.
Thank you. Okay, motioned and approved. Public comment section. We will start with that, and there's a 3-minute time limit for anyone, and who would like to go first? There's several hands up. Okay, there we go. Let's start. What I can see at the top is Casey Patton. Can't hear you.
Thank you, Joanne.
There you go.
Okay, I'm Casey Patton. I'm the Vice President of the Kitsap Aircraft Radio Control Society located in Coulter Creek in South Kitsap. And I want to go ahead and I'd like to address the board on 3 issues, if I could, please. One, about 2 to 3 years ago, Lori or Dory, I cannot remember which one held this, but she held chainsaw safety classes to be able to qualify to use a chainsaw in the Kitsap County Parks Department because of the liability and everything else. Before anyone gets nervous, we're not looking at cutting down trees. This is to be able to cut up fallen logs that bar our path in the surrounding area of where we're at. So I'm not sure who's taking over that coordination and training now, but if somebody could go ahead and get back to me. Alex has my email and my contact information. If you can, just see him. Secondly, we had a great big maintenance working party at the RC field here about 3 weeks ago. and one of the trucks was pulling a trailer with a big tractor, and he was coming from Lake Flora Road to our entrance, and he was coming from south to north. As he's in the process of trying to make the turn into the gate, because he had to stop the truck in the lane of traffic, because there's no shoulder, there's no provisions for a truck and trailer to enter our flying site from that direction safely. And as he opened the gate and he was getting ready to make the turn, another car was speeding around from the other direction, and they almost had an accident. I'd like to speak to somebody about what we might be able to do to widen the shoulder on the gate side of the road coming from Lake Flora, so somebody could pull a truck and a trailer safely off the road so they can go ahead and come into our flying site for maintenance. If we could do that, I'd appreciate it. And then thirdly, Aaron, this is for Aaron Nix. Aaron, first of all, welcome aboard. And at your convenience, I would like to try to make an appointment with you to have you come out and see the field, period. I know you're new to the job and you're probably busier than the one-eyed cat watching two rat holes, but we'd definitely like to have you out there and have you see it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're muted,
the ne-
Aaron.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, Arno took me out there. I'd love to meet with you out there for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we're gonna go to Tanya.
Tanya.
Tanya, I'm
Hi.
sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Hi, my name's Tanya Issa, and my family and I live in Kingston. We have 5 children and my husband, and we're all very avid users of the park system in any possible way we can use them. Our favorite is certainly North Kitsap Heritage Trails because it's very close to our home. I was there just last week, and as I'm there pretty frequently, and I noticed a sign that talked about work being done on the cross-country trail, and the cross-country trail being closed and then rerouted in the future. Until I saw this sign just a few days ago, I wasn't aware that that work was going to be done. But I am involved in the schools, in the school district. I work on the levies and the bond, and I'm on the capital improvements committee as well. And also the boosters, the athletic boosters. And so through some of my work with the schools, I learned that the cross-country team and the athletic director at Kingston High School was not aware that this trail was going to be closed. And it is a trail that they use for training. And it's the trail they use to access the well-named and much-loved Vomit Hill. And based on the steepness of that trail, anyone who's been there knows exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm just kind of curious what the process is for deciding how the public will be notified about this work and decide for users that might be very much impacted, what that might how to make sure that they're notified. I know that note was placed there at least 4 or 5 days ago, and maybe it was placed there longer and I just didn't notice it. So that's one question I have. And I want to also know about the rerouting, if how users who are impacted by that rerouting can become involved in the discussion about the rerouting. But I certainly can say that the school was surprised. It's a trail that my kids trained on many, many years ago. And it just for people who are runners, it's named Cross Country Trail. And my understanding is that the name came from the school. It's not too far from the high school and the middle school. So I don't know that you guys can answer that on this call. Maybe you can, but if not, I'll just leave it as a public comment.
Thank you.
Tanya,
Okay,
if
no
you
one-
want to put your contact information in the chat, I'll respond to you. I can respond to you offline about the items. And
Sure. Is that Alex talking? Okay,
Yeah.
sure, Alex. Yeah, I'll do that.
Thanks.
Okay, we have another hand up there, Charlene Gilder.
Hi. I also wanted to quickly mention, I have another colleague, Gary Nugent, who's trying to make a public comment tonight, but he is having technical difficulties. I think he's in the other, like when we joined, you were given options to be an attendee or a contributor. Do you know what I'm talking about? No? Okay, I'll go with
Yeah.
my public.
Sorry,
Alex
real
knows.
quick. Yes, I see, D, we still have 5 people in the other room. Can we advance them to panelists? And Gary Nugent is one of them as well.
Yes, they've all been sent the promotion. They just need to accept it.
Okay, understood. Thanks.
Okay, I'll go ahead with my comment. My name is Charlene Gilder. I'm 46 years old and I have been a South Kitsap resident for the last 15 years. I have been volunteering at Banner Forest since 2017. And for the last several years, I served as the chair of the Banner Forest Stewardship Committee. During that time, numerous Kitsap County residents have contacted me with their concerns about the restorative thinning program and its possible impacts at Banner Forest Heritage Park. I understand the resolution 169, 2012, the Integrated Forest Stewardship Policy addresses the county's goals to improve forest health. I've attended several events with Arno Bergstrom and to learn more about the thinning program, including tours of Newberry Hill and Coulter Creek Park. I'm here today to request a public process to put protections in place to ensure that this resolution is carried out. That if this resolution is carried out at Banner Forest in the future, that number 1, thinning at Banner Forest is done by hand with no commercial logging practices. And number 2, no trees or timber be sold from Banner Forest, but rather be left on the forest floor. My reasons for this request are 1, trail damage due to logging equipment access, 2, regermination of invasive species such as Scotch broom, 3, carbon loss due to timber removal, 4, impacts to native species and wildlife already present, 5, water problems to trails where remediation has already been addressed, 6, destruction of nurse stumps that provide habitat, 7, loss of shade, which is the primary use of Banner Forest for Kitsap and Pierce County residents during the summer. Based on public input, I am recommending that when implementing any restorative thinning at Banner, to use pre-commercial thinners or volunteers to drop and leave trees in the forest. Fundraising could be considered to pay for costs that cannot be absorbed by the county budget. Banner Forest is an established park loved by the community. The community helped establish the park, build and maintain the trails, and control invasive species. Conducting the restorative thinning program using logging equipment at Banner Forest would destroy the work the community has performed. The resolution states that the implementation will be highly participatory, and while the county has invited volunteers to help carry out the program by measuring trees, they have not been open to discussing options to avoid the use of logging equipment and removing timber from the park. This lack of cooperation has made me and others question the nature of the self-sustaining program and if there's a conflict of interest in the revenue projected from Banner Forest and the use of those funds. Thank you.
Thank you. The next with the hand up on top is Beverly Parsons.
Thank you, Joanne. I'm Beverly Parsons from Hansville. I'm here to speak tonight about the letter that the board received from the Bricklin and Newman law firm. They represent us, the Kitsap Environmental Coalition, in regard to some of the issues that we have about the SEPA review. And, you know, we at the KEC recognize that the county staff is very busy and there have been many staff shortages and so much happening. And there's such a broad range of things going on in terms of legal and other issues related to the park. And so KEC's, because of our strong concern for the overall environmental well-being of our county and our parks, we basically took it on ourselves to hire a very experienced environmental lawyer to conduct a review of the relevance of the SEPA requirements. And so I know that that you've received that letter, and I assume you probably are going to have your lawyer look at that. But I just wanted to call your attention to a few things that are in that letter. Brian Brian Telligen, who wrote this letter and sent this letter to you, indicates at the beginning of his letter that that we've hired them. He said, we represent the Kitsap Environmental Coalition, a local nonprofit organization dedicated to healthy lands, water, and habitat throughout Kitsap County. At KEC's request, we have reviewed the county's proposed Port Gamble Forest Heritage Park framework. While KEC is supportive of Kitsap County's park, we want you to know that for sure, the proposed framework cannot be adopted until it has undergone environmental review under Washington State's Environmental Policy Act, SEPA. And he gives the chapter on the RCW there. As discussed below, SEPA requires the Parks Department and Kitsap County to review the environmental impacts of the proposed framework prior to its adoption. We are confident this will result in a framework that more fully protects the environment. In contrast, proceeding without SEPA review is unlawful and would likely result in judicial reversal of the framework should the county adopt it without first undertaking the required environmental review under SEPA. And there's many other points in this letter that I'm hoping you'll read it closely and see the importance. And I particularly want to point out too that he talks about the two types of actions that require environmental review. That's the project actions and non-project actions. And those projects include proposals that are directly modify the physical environment, but the non-project actions include the adoption of any policy plan or program that would govern the development of a series of connected activities. So again, I just want to call your attention to that. And I also want to just make a comment too. I heard this morning that the PROS plan is going to be reviewed and updated in this coming year. And I just want to commend you on taking that step, and especially that it's coming at the same time as the comprehensive plan for the county. And I think there's some great synergies that I hope that you're able to bring about at that time. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Carrie Whitlow. She disappeared from my screen. Is there any other hands up that you can see? I can't see anyone else. And she did not answer.
Yeah, Joe Lucas.
I'm sorry, Joe. I've seen you're in color and your hand's colorful. Sorry, you're
And
muted though.
I finally found my mute button so I can go after Joe. I think he was ahead of me.
Okay, sorry. I'm just going by what I can see. Go ahead, Joe, and we'll get back to Carrie.
Okay, thank you. Got a couple things here. Let's see. First of all, Tanya, I'm a co-chair at the North Kitsap Heritage Park, so you're welcome to contact me for specific information about the ongoing reroute of cross country and the restoration of the wetland at Norman Creek. Secondly, I want to second Charlene's concerns, not so much about the restorative thinning, but the lack of communication. That's been an ongoing problem, multi-year difficulty between the parks and the stewardship groups. And I think, there's some effort that needs to be put into that, correcting that situation. Third, it focuses kind of both on the Port Gamble framework and the STO. And I'm tying them together on the theme that you need to do homework, before you come up with these plans. And last month I criticized the String of Pearls plan because it put a plan together that never vetted the routes, that it was never updated to account for new policy and new legal standing of properties. And I see the same thing in the framework, that the natural resource pieces haven't been given adequate attention. The geology layer was just from the county. It's not anything we would use. I mean, the DNR's got much superior data. The wetland data is incomplete. I was just looking at the 2018 feasibility study that shows 4 wetlands that are not in the current 2022. And I will say that's at least 4 wetlands. So, and plus the wetlands between those 2 mappings are not necessarily consistent. These are both based on county database, both had the same contractor. Who knows what's going on, but it's clearly not up to snuff is something you can work with. And the third is the lack of buffers. So the latest version of the framework master plan says they're not going to do buffers because it's too complicated. You know, I just don't buy that. I think it's bordering on negligence not to take a look at your buffers, especially when you've got third-party loggers that are going to come in with no contractual responsibility to the county. And it would also, I think, have affected how the landscape classifications were done. I noted that on the big wetlands at Port Gamble, it appears, to the best as I could look at it, that the natural area boundaries were coincidence with the wetland boundaries. And to my way of thinking, it would be really obvious to include the buffer areas in natural areas, just as a common sense procedure. And I think that the lack of, you know, the basic information that you need to work with has just not been present. And I would also notice in the framework that there were several new paragraphs related to the STO that were not in there at all. I'm going to formally object to their inclusion. And the basis is because their reliance on the string of pearls, that it was the string of pearls didn't do its homework. It didn't vet the routes ahead of time, and it hasn't been updated since then. So it's, you know, we're not objecting to the STO. You know, we realize there's a lot of people that want safe bicycle routes, and not just the STO, but throughout the community. But you need to do the basic homework, and that's just not been done. So, and my last 2 points are real simple. I thought we were going to get a red line on the framework. It turns out that was not the case. I found at least one insertion that was not red fonted, and you can't really review a document without seeing the deletions as well as the insertions. And lastly, I hope Alex will address this. It looks like the commissioners are all set to approve this on Monday without any further discussion. So I don't know what the PAB's role is here at this point in regard to the framework master plan. Okay. So I think that pretty well covered my points. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Carrie Whitlow.
My name is Carrie Guthrie Whitlow. I'm a 51-year-old. I'm sorry, I'm 51 years old, and I live near Banner Forest in Port Orchard, Washington. My husband, Jerry, and I were appointed to Banner Forest Watch Group by Charlotte Garrido in 2010. We served on this committee for many years and have continued participating in the Banner Forest stewardship meetings and monthly work parties. During the past few years, we have been aware of an intention to harvest trees from Banner Forest under the guise of restorative thinning. While we agree that there are a few areas in Banner that are not optimal and could use some thinning to encourage more growth on the forest floor, we do not believe that this should be done at the cost of the rest of the forest. We have been told that the cost of restoring these areas will be paid for by harvesting other trees in the forest that can bring about revenue that will be used for the self-sustaining forestry program. We do not believe that this is in the best interest of Banner Forest and believe that there are other ways to tackle this, including thinning by hand or letting these areas thin themselves over time, which is what we have observed to happen over the 30 years we have lived near Banner. I shared my opinion during a Banner Forest stewardship meeting last week and was told that I was wrong and that I am not entitled to my opinion because I don't possess the proper credentials, i.e. a forestry degree. The response I received from the county employee was an emotional response and unprofessional. We can do better. I will be seeking insight from someone who does have a background in forestry, and I hope to have an intelligent discussion in the future about the restoration of Banner and how this can and should be done in a way that is acceptable to the community and users of the park. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have up Gary Nugent.
There, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. My name is Gary Nugent. I'm 70 years old and I've lived in Kitsap, South Kitsap since 1985. Built my home here in Southworth in 1990. And in 2013, after 28 years of employment at the local South Kitsap Fire and Rescue, I retired. I've been a steward of Banner Forest for the last 5 years. I ride my mountain bike in there. And I also recently attended the August Zoom stewards meeting. And when this topic of the imminent thinning of Banner Forest was brought up, it was abruptly closed by the volunteer coordinator stating, "We're not going to let this topic take the majority of the meeting." The meeting ended approximately 1 earlier than the stated time limit. Anyway, my plea is that Banner Forest is one of South Kitsap unique gems. It has been tenderly cared for by a conscientious consortium of volunteers consisting of dog walkers, horseback riders, mountain bikers, nature walkers for decades. These trails are a myriad of continuously winding, intersecting paths throughout the park and consists of a number of unique, different, distinct ecosystems. The trails are intentionally and meticulously constructed by volunteers in place so that they can withstand the high traffic volume while maintaining privacy during one's visit. These ecosystems complement each other with vast assortments of different terrains, vegetation, wildlife, rendering the uniqueness of Banner Forest. The Parks Department has stated that the thinning would repair the current forest vegetation from its previous utilization as a tree farm to a more natural vegetative state. Banner Forest has not been touched by commercial enterprise for many decades. It has been naturally adapting and converting back to its natural state for decades without human intervention. Nature does repair itself. The fisheries have discovered this in the Pacific Northwest with the Elwha Dam removal. The remnants and effects of thinning of Jackson Lund and the numerous heritage parks have obviously shown its environmentally traumatic and decimating effects. The invasive species now present at these parks that have been thinned, along with the continuous pile of logging slash left on the ground to rot, creates a thick layer of forest slash that does not decompose quickly. It takes years and years, most probably not within my lifeline, to decompose. The logging machinery would crush and decimate the existing trails that took years and years to develop, not to mention crushing and transforming the entire ecosystem of small hills, valleys, gullies, essentially changing the entire nature of the forest. The citizen users and stewards have worked hard and fought hard for the county acquisition of Banner Forest, and we're asking for your help to save the forest. The parks volunteers are now gathering to assure the naturalizing state of Banner Forest for the enjoyment of all and to not be a victim of the increasing budgetary allotments of the county's park department. The majority of users are ready to publicly fight to save Banner Forest. Thank you.
Thank you all for your comments. Are there any other public comments? I can only see so many, so if you can see any more hands up. Seeing no public comments, I want to thank you all for your input, and we'll move on to the next agenda meeting. Special presentation / reports on Port Gamble Forest Heritage Park Framework.
So I'll start off the conversation here. The original intent in our timeline was to come back before the advisory board with the revised draft of the Port Gamble Forest Heritage Park framework, to entertain comments and questions based on the revisions, and hopefully migrate towards a recommendation by the advisory board. However, the board may still opt to do that, but based on the letter received and their request, not only from Kitsap Environmental Coalition, but also other community members who have requested that the plan be put through a SEPA review, we are moving in that direction. So prior to any further deliberation on the plan itself, we are going to do that. So it'll take a bit of time to run it through the process, but in all honesty, the decision was just made today. So we still have a bit of time before us to do that. So this item that we had pre-planned for the advisory board, I mean, this is a board discussion. The board may still opt to, make a recommendation, but also may opt to postpone that recommendation until the SEPA review is complete. And kind of with that introduction, we'll leave it up to the board members to discuss and decide what you want to do.
I would entertain a board member with their point of view. Anyone?
Well, hi there, Larry's here. Finally got
Oh,
here.
there's Larry. Hi, Larry.
Hi. Sorry about being so dadgum late and everything. If today was a horse, they'd have shot it by noon. Anyway, I would recommend that if they're going to be running this thing through a SEPA review, then us going on to talk about it right now, in any quantitative manner would kind of be getting the cart ahead of the horse. So I would recommend that we wait for the SEPA review, and that'll give us all the information we need to discuss it.
Does anyone object to that on the board? Does anyone object to that? Okay, I see a couple hands. Linda, Barry?
I was just going to say that maybe we should go ahead and have the presentation since we have the consultant here. But I would concur with Larry that we should wait until the SEPA review. If that's going to happen anyways, we should have that information.
Okay, Lisa?
I agree. I think we should wait for the SEPA review just because it seems like a bunch of legal, a can of worms if we don't. And also just reading the new framework, I found a lot of things that, are contradictory and just, I don't really understand. So I'd love to hear what Mr. McBride has to say. And but I did have a couple more just little questions that are easy enough to answer, I think. Like, first of all, I've been asked by a lot of people on trail, why did the kiosk get removed?
I can't hear you.
Airport parking at Port Gamble Forest Heritage Park. There was a big kiosk there and it's gone. Also, why did we change the name of the Port Gamble Forest Heritage Park Master Plan? Seems like a lot of people are confused now. It's like, is this a whole nother, I know it's been reworked, but how it's almost like I don't know, I guess some people have said to me, is this like a bait and switch? What is this that's called the framework now? What's the story behind that? I was kind of curious.
So I can provide some insight. First of all, there was never really an intention to provide a formal presentation tonight. It was more about board discussion based on your review of the draft, the revised draft document as part of, moving it forward towards a recommendation. So just putting the kind of brakes on any type of understanding or thinking that there was going to be a presentation. With regards to, and I invited David here to help facilitate answers if questions and comments came up, not necessarily to do a presentation. Anyway, the change from using the words master plan to framework were more predicated on what the document is and what it was never intended to be. The original intention of the plan was to be a high-level guidance document, not necessarily something that bound the county parks department or Kitsap County to everything that was displayed within the plan, which is more kind of predicated on what quote unquote master plans are, and then they do go through a more formal review process. And so because that was maybe erroneously leading us or misguiding the interpretation of what the plan was, there was an intention to stop referring to it as that and call it more of a framework, and which again is supposed to be more of a higher level document. At the very beginning of this process, this is like a week after I was hired. I vaguely remember this meeting, but the whole project team came together and had a discussion with the staff members from the Department of Community Development, and talked through the plan itself about what it is we're doing, kind of what it is intended to be. It is not going directly from plan into construction. And based on that conversation, they were basically giving us feedback as to the different layers of review that we needed to engage in. And their guidance basically stated that based on what we were projecting to provide, that a full-blown kind of environmental analysis, including a non-project SEPA review, was not required. And so that was kind of the premise that we were always moving under. But based on feedback from the community, and appreciate the letter from Kitsap Environmental Coalition, but we also heard similar comments from other community members as well. And of course, we're being mindful of perceptions of the plan, and trying to do our due diligence before bringing it back for public, kind of a final public review and so forth. So it's probably not the most eloquent explanation, but that was kind of in a roundabout way the reason for the change in the words.
Thank you, Alex.
David, anything to add to that?
I did want to ask Lisa, you also mentioned something about a kiosk. Are you talking about physically or within the document itself being
physically?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I do have questions in the document as well, just a few things if you're ready for that.
I can try and answer. If not, I might ask that you maybe send me a list of some of the inconsistencies you noted, and I'll go back to our team to have them review that.
Okay, well, I kind of went through the whole document again and read all your red marks and such, and then went back to the executive summary, and it just seems like executive summary page 12 was confusing to me. I realize there's been so many plans that have been done over the past 20 years, and this is pre-Alex and pre-Rob Gelder even. Plans like the Greenways plan and things that weren't approved. And I know we have the non-motorized plan, and of course the String of Pearls plan. And I did notice that, it talks about the zoning use tables. This is in framework, that the zoning use tables and should be updated with periodic county land use and zoning policy updates. to avoid conflicts between documents. And that was my one thing, the documents, it's like, I've been, I'm new to the board, but my goodness, I've been reading every single document I can read my hand on it or get my hands on. And there's a lot of them and they're very long, and they take lots of time to like weed through them. And, I did try to look up the String of Pearls plan, which was approved, it says, but there's really not, the document isn't online that I can find. But what I did find was a map. And the map, what really stood out to me was that there were parallel paths. Where did I write that down? So many notes here. But anyway, there are parallel paths that went, oh, here it is. There's a community connection trails plan and a Kingston, and the STO. And so the STO is more of a direct route, and that's the one I think that's being planned to cut through North Kitsap Heritage Park. But then they also have this community connection trails plan, which seems to be the more logical trail, especially if we as taxpayers are trying to save some money, because it would be, again, it looks like, and again, these maps are so sketchy that you can't really, doesn't give you road names or anything, but it looks like it's going up West Kingston Road, which makes sense because it's connecting the high school, the middle school, but then it ends up on Miller Road, which then is a dead end to nowhere because the non-motorized trail plan hasn't done what they said they were going to do. And that was approved in 2013. So I'm just, I guess what I'm confused with is like, I understand that this plan, the String of Pearls, is connecting trail to trail, but it seemed like the non-motorized plan happened a lot sooner than that plan. And that was supposed to be connecting community to community. And I realize it's not really part of the framework plan, but it kind of is because it's all connected, right? It should be anyway, all connected. So I was confused, and I know the comprehensive plan is about to happen, and it sounds like the pros plan is going to be reviewed. And so I'm just, I know there's some discrepancies in the framework, but if it's just a framework, then I guess I shouldn't have to worry about it. Is that, as a park advisory board person, I'd like to know, should I worry about that or shouldn't I?
I mean, my gut feeling is, yes, you should worry about this. We want to get this as right as possible. And in alignment with the myriad of other plans that exist within the county and the varying communities, adjacent and overlapping Kitsap County with regards to, other trail plans too. I mean, specific to the framework, the master plan, whatever you want to call it, the framework itself was basically premised on the fact it was adopting the Sound to Olympics Trail as a component, understanding it already to be, moving forward. Like that's an element that decisions already been made and it kind of exists in the park. And then laying on top of that is where the framework comes into play to say, we understand this exists, and now how do we, add in all of the other concerns and elements that we hear from the community. With regards to its, the String of Pearls from, I think 2011 is when the county officially adopted it into the non-motorized transportation plan, but it was developed even prior to that. It was, as I understand it, and Linda, you can probably know more about this, but it was a concept document about, a desire for, regional trails connections through North Kitsap, but the actual alignment still needed further work. But the original concept was the community coming out saying, yes, we want this. And then how does that then overlay with the non-motorized transportation plan, which goes through a variety of updates on occasion, as well as, City of Poulsbo plans, Bainbridge Island plans, and so forth. And I don't have obviously any history with it, but Linda, you've got your hand up. By all means, go for it.
So Lisa, I did just send you a link to the North Kitsap String of Pearls Trail Plan in the chat. It's there.
Thank you. I saw that. Thank you for that.
And, to both Lisa and Joe Lubisher's comments, the North Kitsap String of Pearls Trail Plan was a community-driven document. The focus was what the community wanted. So there was a huge amount of community outreach, participation, and what came back and out of all that was a goal to preserve as much open space in North Kitsap as possible over the, primarily the Pope lands, and also the vision of a connected trail that connected all of our North Kitsap communities. So those routes were conceptual in nature, but there were, priorities and ranking, and that document had been tied in. It was adopted by the county commissioners at the end of 2011. Then it was folded into the county's non-motorized plan in 2013. And I did just check online, and it looks like there was an update to that, to the county's non-motorized plan in 2018. But it certainly would be typical and expected that when you start with an idea, you initially start with a general concept and you work towards specifics. So, the county has spent a lot of time and energy getting into more detail in some of the feasibility studies. There was a feasibility study through Port Gamble for the Sound to Limits Trail. There was a feasibility study through the Divide. And now there's another one looking at the whole connections from the south into the Port Gamble Park to Kingston. So, like all planning in the state of Washington, you have the very high level conceptual work, and then you get down to the more nitty gritty when you get into the details of construction. And I think that's just kind of the nature of the beast. That plan was a vision, and it was conceptual, and that's why some of these routes have been refined.
Thank you.
I can maybe comment real quick also, Lisa, on that paragraph on the bottom of page 12. That's really just more of a note, if you will, that this plan, this document, if you will, is gonna be a living document, right? Like there is a certain kind of hierarchy of plans and policies that have to be, adjusted for, and land use planning is ultimately gonna dictate. But this is a recommendation basically from the team saying, hey, this document is going to need to be reviewed regularly and make sure that things down the road aren't conflicting with future land use policy changes.
Thank you. Well, so one thing I did point out last meeting that you were here, and I was talking about the conservation land and changing classifications. And one thing I did notice was on this new revision, basically you just removed no dogs, no horses from the conservation area. And you put in there in red that all the classification areas will be, people, dogs, horses, I guess, will be allowed to be in all of it. That's what it kind of sounded like to me. But so I was just wondering how it could just easily be going from conservation and then, and no dogs, no horses are allowed to go through this section. And so that was like, it was a connector area and it kind of connected to the rest of the trail. So Linda brought up, and then she had a good point. Yeah, how do you do that? And how do you connect it? So I guess the answer was just remove the dogs and the horses part. I mean, is that how you figured that out? I mean, to me, it seems like conservation is conservation for a reason. Is that right? So I don't know how you guys get your classifications, and is that part of what I just mentioned about the zoning and the
Zoning is different than the park classifications that we are basically developing within this plan. So these are basically, evolving definitions, if you will, for each of these classification components that live specifically to this park, to parks properties. They don't really they don't have an impact on the county's larger zoning classifications that exist in primarily through DCD and so forth. We have to make sure that our parks classifications that we are suggesting don't conflict with the zoning classification. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. But there's one question I had about like the Babcock Trail. I know that part of that has been shut down now for walkers, even walkers don't whatnot, but even on the master plan, the framework, now it shows that it's open for everybody. So is that trail open again for walkers, dogs, such not? Because again, it was a sensitive area. Wetlands, very wet, and people were bringing in pallets to walk across all the wet grounds, and made sense to me to shut it down to everybody, dogs, people. But because of these classifications now changing, I'm like, okay, is that how easy it is? Just remove that part. Now everything's open to everybody. So let's say you have sensitive wetlands. How do you keep people out of there if now the whole park is open to everybody for everything?
Off the top of my head, unfortunately, I'm not familiar with that specific trail. So
it's all the way over towards Fort Campbell Township.
It's actually on Pope's land, and it was built by a rogue trail builder. I actually caught her in the act, and I told her she needed to stop. I put a couple of times, tape saying, no entry, closed. But she took it upon herself during COVID to rebuild it through an area that I believe is a wetland. And and this is me speaking with my project manager for Port Gamble hat, we are looking at rerouting that and have looked at a couple of different locations and have had wetlands consultants to check it. So the problem is that we have a road trail builder on private property, and she opened it up, and it's pretty hard once she trimmed all the bushes to close it off. You also asked about the missing kiosk, Lisa, and that is also on private property. The model airplane field is not within the county park. So Rainier allows the public to use it to access the park, but it's private property. Somebody ran into it, I believe, knocked it over. It's been damaged, and we have had staffing issues, and it hasn't been replaced. But it is not within the county park, it's private.
Thank you, Linda. I didn't realize Babcock was private because it was on the trail map. So
no, it's actually been, the park stewards have removed it off the trail map. So the most current map just shows Tess's Trail, which is right, located just south of the Green Gate. That's the county property line. And the park volunteers had removed it from the map because we were concerned that it was going through a wetland. So it's just this woman did it on her own. Right? Okay. And we have some old maps, some of the You Are Here maps that need to be replaced.
Okay. I probably have some of those old maps. So, okay.
Lisa, did you find that specific trail in any of the maps that are part of the framework?
No, I did not, because again, I look at the maps in the framework and they don't really, I think I suggested this last time too, to make the maps bigger so that they cross-reference existing trails, because you see the streams and such, but it's really hard. And I know this trail like the back of my hand. I know every rabbit path through it, but I can barely follow these trails, where is that? I kind of look at it and I'm trying to, in my head, figure out where these trails are going, what the new ones are, where they're running. But that was just a suggestion I had, because it's really, you were going to do an overlay, I think, of the existing trails and then put the existing trails over the new framework plan so that we can then see, oh, okay, those are the forests, those are the trees that we're saving, or those are that's the clear cut that just happened, or, that's where Secret Squirrel runs to, kind of thing. Because it's really hard, if you don't know this trail system, it's hard to follow that map. That's just kind of what I've noticed. I have to look and go through the appendices and then try to look at it again and yeah, so just an observation.
If I can make a comment, last I knew, that trail is still on Maprika.
Yeah, Maprika is a whole nother story. So there's Maprika and Trail Forks and all these different, handheld maps that you can get that take you there. And it's like, oh, that's Babcock. Cool. I'm going to walk it. And then you're like, but wait, where did it go? Or, why is it not here?
So some of those online maps, Lisa, are like Google, are heat maps. So if people go there, they show up. I know there's been a lot of problems, in Port Gamble itself with people trespassing, going into fields where we've got, longhorn cattle grazing, and it'll show up on a map. Some of the evergreen mountain bike volunteers and park stewards have access to correct those. So we have had them go into a couple that allow correction. But if it's a heat map and people are trespassing, the fact is that Google is keeping track of where everybody walks. And it can show up as a trail if enough people walk there. And
okay, I don't know if you have any control over Maprika, but I don't think that's a heat trail. That's just an app that you can get and it has all the current maps on it. And so they need to update their map. And you may put some no trespassing signs or something because
it's hard to patrol.
Yeah, I can imagine. But thank you for that. I was unaware that it was private property. I guess I've been trespassing.
I'll also, Lisa, real quick on the comments regarding the land use section in the document, I will follow up with our planner on the team and see if she can kind of provide a little bit more clarity. So I might not have the complete answer right now, but it appears what the edits they did were based on to make it currently reflect the allowed uses within the park.
Okay.
Specifically.
Thank you.
Okay, so I guess we need to decide if we're going to table this or continue it to the, or take a vote on it tonight. Larry did want to table it until we hear the SEPA results. If there's any objections, I guess we'll go there. From the board members?
I motion to table.
Are there
I'll
any
second.
objections? Okay, so it's been motioned and second that we will table this discussion until the SEPA results are done. Okay, so thank you for all your expertise and knowledge on all of this. Yes, Linda?
Joanne, are we going to vote? Well, you had a motion, but I don't think we voted on the motion.
Thank you. So I thought we did, but that's okay. I want to do it right. So let's take a vote on tabling the motion to wait till the SEPA report comes back. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Seeing no opposed, the motion is carried that we will table this discussion until the final result of the SEPA is done. Thank you. Thank you, Linda. Okay, Parks Department reports, pros plan update, Aaron Nixon.
Good evening, guys. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yep.
Perfect. I'm going to share my screen with you. I actually have a presentation here for you.
Okay. Oh, it's Nix. I'm sorry, not Nixon.
Well, how dare you?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Let's see here. As Alex mentioned before, I will tell you that this presentation itself was actually shared with the Board of Commissioners at their meeting today by Alex. I was actually in another meeting. If you're not aware, typically and in statute, we're required as a local government to update our Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Plan, otherwise known as the PROS Plan. In looking through some of your past work programs that you had for this committee, I believe 2021, it identified this as one of the responsibilities of you all. The reason why we do this is, like I mentioned before, it's because of state statute and what it says, but we also want to maintain our grant eligibility for various types of granting opportunities.
Hey, Aaron, real
yeah,
quick.
sure.
We're seeing the presentation mode or the presenter, the presenter mode in your display settings at the top left of the screen.
Okay.
Can you click on that and do a swap presenter view and slideshow? Perfect.
Got it. Sorry,
Yeah.
guys. No, I appreciate that. It's been a while since I've used this actual software, so I appreciate that. Thank you. What I wanted to kind of share with you all, these are the required elements that the state, the Recreation and Conservation Office, at least identifies as elements within a PROS plan that you want, that you're required to have. I want to point out specifically, public involvement is a huge factor when it comes into PROS plan development. I will tell you, this will be my 5th PROS plan that I've worked on, so I do have some experience in doing that. So public involvement, especially through the Recreation and Conservation Office, is a huge piece. I will say, and I have reviewed the 2018 plan, which was it was good work. It was very good work. Our intentions are to build on that based on these elements. And my next slide is actually going to show at least staff's perspective on some things that we think need to be included and added to it. But before we do that, again, the public involvement piece I want to stress. The real piece that is really a driver for us in this update is demand and needs analysis. That basically, you're looking at what you have as far as properties and facilities and programs. You're looking at the community and the demographic information, who's served, who's underserved, who's not served, those types of things. That is going to be a real big point for us, in my opinion, in this next update. So those are the various elements, with obviously the last one being plan adoption. And that will, the intent being, we'd like to, and I'll go through kind of a sequence of timing that we have here. You as the PAB, I think that's the acronym PAB, will play a pretty critical role in this as far as the interaction with the community, as well as reviewing this and providing your comments. So are there any questions just initially with regard to a PROS plan update from anybody? Okay, great. Hearing none, I'll move on to this next slide. So these were some of the goals and objectives. When I first started, Alex and I started working on developing a scope of work with regard to the elements that we wanted to cover in this next update. Officially, our update, we need to have the plan completed, SEPA done, and submitted to the Recreation and Conservation Office for approval by March of 2024. We're really trying to get ahead of this, and again, really focus on that community input, feedback component of this. But these are the areas that we really want to focus in on. I will tell you, as a guy that's been here for a month, that discussion that you guys had with regard to the Port Gamble piece and the zoning piece, I'm actually impressed, and I've already mentioned that to Alex, because what I'm seeing is the zoning that at least that's identified, at least in the Port Gamble plan, breaks it up even more so than what community development or DCD will do with regard to how they plan things. If you look at our zoning map, all they do is identify parks as a big purple blob identified on a map, and that's your park. That's what identifies. What I like about this element, which is unique, and I've not seen this before, is it actually is taking into account the conservation component, as well as the active versus passive recreation piece. And from a parks planner perspective, that is really cool stuff. I agree. Some of the comments, for like conservation, keeping people out, that kind of thing. But I will tell you, I really believe that the way that we've done this is really progressive in the sense that it's really looking at your resources from a big picture, and identifying areas that you want to leave alone, what you want to do for passive recreation, and what you want to do for active. So that's going to be a big component. And it's identified here as one of the items here. We also, RCO, who is the Recreation Conservation Office, again, the state of Washington, they have their own classifications, and obviously there's going to be parallels. We want to make those connections in this update, such as they identify parks based on size, primarily pocket parks, regional parks, and it's really based on size criteria. There is no real in-depth discussion. There's specialty parks and those kinds of things, but we really want to get into that further. Also, trail classification system, ways in which we can identify. Obviously, there's the standard, single person 4-foot trail, but there are other trails, multimodal trails, those types of things. We want to flush that out a little bit more in our update. I did mention again the robust public engagement piece. One of the big things that at least I've seen in the months that I've been here is it's important that we need to establish some level of service. And I'm not talking about level of service as far as park amenities. I'm talking about in capital investments as well as level of service of maintenance. How many people does it take to do whatever we're trying to define? We want to flush that out better. The point being is, if we're not maintaining where we want to, then we need to figure out how we're going to get to that level. So we're going to discuss that hopefully within this plan. And then the last thing being funding opportunities, and how we're going to pay for all this moving forward. So any questions, at least with regard to some of our desired outcomes in this next update? Are there any thoughts from you all on what you think we should include, or is there something we're missing?
I think Joe had a question on number 4. What does that mean?
Again, this is going into that land use classification. So again, typical planners, community development type of planners typically do not engage in going through this notion of defining it as we have with regard to conservation areas, active recreation areas, other areas. What we'd like to do, at least in this update, is, I know there's been some discussion about that, and I heard that tonight, is trying to identify a system that we can use within our parks so that it isn't confusing to people. If it's a conservation area, then it's identified conservation. That's what we're talking about, is taking that next step to try to look specifically at our parks and getting a use classification with regard to, is this an area that we don't want to step into? It's a conservation piece. It needs to be set aside, that kind of discussion. Where do you put a ball field? That kind of thing, active components of it. And will the land allow for that, based on our work? So that's what I meant by a land use classification system, specifically in our parks.
Does that already exist though? Don't we already have that? Like
we do, but the intent here is that we want to try to ingrain that for all of our park system, not just a single one. My understanding is this has really only been geared towards some recent large scale regional parks. Alex, I don't know, do you have anything else on that?
Yeah, I can add a little bit. And Joe's got the correct terminology, so my fault for incorrectly. He's putting land use in here, but landscape classification is the terminology that the former planner kind of created and utilized. It's a kind of a zoning type system that helps provide direction for how land or areas within a park are managed, what type of uses are allowed in those areas, what type of uses are not allowed in those areas, et cetera, et cetera. I have used this, or I've seen this in large part done within designated wilderness areas at the federal level. So from the 1964 Wilderness Act, within those areas, they use a zoning system to identify, buffer areas versus active use areas versus conservation areas or whatever it may be. And those different types of areas dictate how that area is managed. It's very, basically what we're doing in some of our park management plans that already exists, as well as what's being proposed for Port Gamble. The intent here is not to blow any of that up, but basically wrap that into the PROS plan so it becomes a system-wide and park system-wide across the county classification management system that we can then deploy out to our other parks that currently don't have them in place. So that's the intent. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Appreciate that. So just moving on just quickly, I wanted to kind of identify our timeline, at least what we've identified as far as kind of our benchmarking for this entire project. Like I said, we are way ahead, and we're doing that on purpose because we want to make sure that we do this plan good and allow for good public input on this. In November, we'll be, Alex and I will be finalizing at least what we understand of what we want as far as the scope of work. We are basically talking about a hybrid approach. I am an experienced planner. There are some things and elements within these PROS plans that just makes sense to have a consultant help you with. So that's kind of how we've outlined, at least identified in our scope of work for this. A lot of the public participation piece is going to be me talking with you all and going out in the community. But there are going to be elements. So we are developing a scope of work, at least for identified elements that we need help with. By January of 2023, we hopefully will have a consultant selected and approved by the Board of Commissioners. One of the first items that we will tackle is this public participation plan. And get that up and in place. And what we're going to identify are workshops as well as hearings and those types of things as we progress through this to allow for public participation. So that's an important component. A timeline for the demands and needs analysis. Now, also understand that there's a lot of work, at least on our end, to get it to the point where the consultant can run a demand and needs analysis. There is data that we're harvesting as far as usage of our facilities that we'd like to integrate into that piece, as well as one of the first pieces that I'm working on is getting us a very accurate inventory of the properties that we own, as well as the specific buildings. We don't have a very good, at least internally, our insurance folks we need to have a good internal inventory of what we have. And there's some, with that, we can really build upon, times dealing with the depreciation of facilities and kind of getting really teed up to follow the 6-year CIP as far as projects that we're going to put in place. But really, we also like to look 20 years into the future. One of the questions that have been asked, and I'm just asking this question, I'm not saying that this is we're going to go down this pathway, but one of the questions that we need to ask, at least internally within our organization, is we have these notions of trail plans and the STO, those things. Who's going to maintain that stuff once it's built? I mean, that's really a question that we need to think about in the future. So that's really kind of the meat of the demands and needs analysis. Hopefully looking a little bit broader horizon as opposed to 6 years, looking 20 years down the road and including that into this plan. So obviously we run SEPA. The intent is to hopefully have this before the Board of Commissioners by January of 2024, and then submitting the plan by March 1st to the Recreation and Conservation Office. So that's kind of our time frame. Are there any other questions? Alex, did you want to add anything?
No, I think you touched on all the highlights for where we're at currently. We will be revising the scope of work over the coming weeks. We have a budget request in 24, our 2023 budget for the consultant hire. Once we get, word that that is going to be approved, it will give us the ability to then move the scope to an RFP and start on the process of posting the RFP. We will have one more touch point with the county commissioners prior to posting the RFP with probably an updated scope of work, a more kind of final product. And certainly we'll likely bring that back before the advisory board too, just so that we are keeping you in the loop, prior to advertising anything to the public. That's all I got.
Thank you. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on, we have the director's report.
Yeah, I'm going to share my screen real quick. So you have my written director's report. The graphic before you is the same graphic I've been sharing with the county commissioners and sharing with the advisory board on a monthly basis. This kind of represents, at least from a staffing perspective, a snapshot of where we're at, what we've been doing, and how crazy things have been over the last year and a half. The graphic, of course, represents all of the vacant positions and the associated hirings for those positions that have taken place. It's been a lot. Near the bottom here, you see 2 positions highlighted in yellow. Those are currently in process. So we have a second planner position that we're hiring for, capital projects planner, you'll recall. This position will be focused on carrying out our CIP program, our construction projects, and so forth. We are in, fingers crossed, final negotiations with our chosen candidate, and hope to have that position filled as soon as we can. The event specialist position is one that became vacant to us about a month and a half ago. The previous person who was in this position resigned from Kitsap County Parks for a new job opportunity elsewhere. They actually got kind of a career advancing opportunity and moved on, and very sad for us, but happy for the person to see their career evolve. And so we did actually an internal posting for that position, and potentially in the coming weeks, we'll have an internal promotion into that position, which of course with internal promotions will produce a vacancy elsewhere in our system, but we are excited for that potential opportunity and to get this position filled as well. And then highlighted in red, kind of at the top, is an unfortunate case where we have had our event support specialist position, who does reservations for within our events program, currently resigned. They accepted another job elsewhere for very similarly another more money, career advancing opportunity. Happy for them, very sad loss for us, but we will get this new vacancy to us advertised as quickly as we can, and do what we can to get the positions filled. The best part of what you're seeing here is, of course, all the number of people and positions we've hired, and despite that we still have some vacancies, I can say, and I think I said this last month, for the very first time, we are finally under double-digit vacancies. And so that is very exciting. It has been a lot of work over the last year and a half, and this, while still work before us, puts us in a more optimistic position. As I do with our other monthly updates, I'm not going to touch on everything, but of course, if there's something within this that you have questions about, please let me know. Otherwise, I do have some highlights I want to bring up. Of course, in our events and rentals program, we are preparing for the county fair. The county fair begins next week on Wednesday, the 24th, and will last for 5 days through Sunday, the 28th. This is not hosted and operated or managed by Kitsap County Parks. This will be the second year in a row that it's been done by the Kitsap Fair and Stampede Association. Parks staff members do provide a heavy amount of assistance during the month of August for preparation. We help move equipment around, we help prepare the grounds and so forth for the upcoming fair. But when the fair actually begins and operations are put into place, the Kitsap Fair and Stampede Association, basically are the go-to entity for operating the county fair. One item of note, and Joanne, you're definitely going to know some history around this one. We have a gate at Anderson Point Park, and due to Brian and his staff, we were able to get that gate updated. We had some challenges with the last gate for the last year plus in its operations. The issue here is that it's an electric gate, and we have some residents who live on the other side of the gate. They live in between the gate and the park that the gate services. And so the gates being malfunctioning for over a year has in large part been a big headache. But we have finally rectified that situation and have a high functioning gate at this point, and we are a week into it. So fingers crossed it continues. Moving down, I did want to draw attention to one really fantastic project that has come to a conclusion or near conclusion by our volunteer coordinators, and hats off to Sam and Sierra, who are with us online, and Aaron, who is the third person that helped with this project that is not here. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen and actually share a different screen because I really wanna, the pictures say a lot here. In South Kitsap Regional Park, there is a section of trail on a very popular trail that crossed a creek, and this has been taken various forms of repairs in past years, and never have any of them really taken and lasted for a long period of time. We spent a lot of time, actually the repairs to this began in 2020. That is when the initial permits were put into place. We had to have those extended as we went through a variety of staff losses and turnover. But we finally were able to get to a point in 2022 where we were able to do the work. And this shows the extent of the submersion of the previous trail and the impact to or from this area. The fix you will see is here. It is premised on trail construction standards that the National Forest Service and other federal agencies utilize. These were basically part of the permit process, and what gave us and basically what gives us the ability to be approved by the for the permits. We have elevated turnpike trails on either side. We have a great system that covers in large part the biggest wetland area. And for the first time in many years, this trail is open again for traffic. And it's just hats off to the crews for doing this. This was had some funding backing behind it from the local Rotary Club in South Kitsap, as well as involvement from the Youth Build program and other volunteers who helped construct, wheelbarrow a ridiculous amount of gravel, and basically build out the what you see before you. So just want to give kudos to the team. And
Good job.
That is basically highlights the main points that I wanted to just brings a higher level of attention to from the report that I provided to the advisory board. There were other items on this. Some of those we have touched on with regards to the pros plan, with regards to where the Port Gamble framework is now heading towards SEPA review, and of course, a whole host of other things. But with that, I will entertain any comments or questions from the board. And if none, then Joanne.
Are there any hands I don't see? Because I don't have I have a lot of people, but not any hands. Okay, so we're going to accept Alex's report as read and what we have in print that we can all read. So let's move on to the next one, which is subcommittee appointments.
We
did that last week, didn't we?
Did that. Is that sorry.
It's okay. I'm just gonna
Yes.
mark it.
That's a
We did that.
carryover from last month. We can scratch that one off.
Okay, now subcommittee reports. Has any of the subcommittees met since the last meeting?
No.
Okay, so we can mark that one off.
Yes.
All
If and
right.
when we do, how do we do that when we want to meet?
Well, the park staff will pull these subcommittees together when there's a need for review or comment or feedback on something that we are doing. That is how these are structured and set up and managed in large part. So really looking down the list, we should probably pull the Finance and Budget Committee together in after. Everything is going to be under the caveat of after the fair in September, because we can talk about the changes that we've are asking to the Board of County Commissioners. Capital projects program, not really moving yet because we don't have that person in place. M&O program, those will kind of be ad hoc as park improvement projects come up. When needed, we will pull that committee together for review and comment. The community outreach and visitor services, that one is the same. We do have some items on the docket to work through, such as a marketing plan, such as updating rental fees and policies, but that work at the staff level is not taking place yet. So we don't have anything yet to pull the committees together for. And then at the planning and property, we do have our parks planner on board, of course. And there's actually a couple good examples on this one where we will be pulling this crew together. One, of course, will be the pros plan once that gets moving. And then the other plan, maybe Aaron, you want to talk to about this one just a little bit, since we really haven't got it fully moving, but we'll be re-engaging with the plan at Coulter Creek. And as we, re-engage with this one, which was in large part kind of put on pause in 2019, the previous parks planner had done some work and then it got put on pause during COVID. And now we're bringing it back up. And part of that will be engagement with this group as well as others. And go ahead, Aaron, you want to talk to it?
Yeah, that's fine. Yes, I don't know if folks have had a chance to review that Coulter piece that Steve put together a couple of years ago. I'm happy to send that to you. I have been outreaching. I know I reached out to Joanne with regard to kind of having some interaction and comments, discussion with regard to getting that thing going again. I think our hope is to try to do that master planning in-house the best that we can. But we'd like to get moving and move forward with that, just because that is, and I'm just speaking myself, that is a really unique piece of property. I had a chance to go with Arno out to Calvinwood. Wow, I'm still amazed on the wetland complex that encompasses there. So I think we have some real treasures there. Fortunately, the WDFW area habitat biologist now works for us, which is awesome because, and she's actually going to be assigned to help us develop that. She has mentioned that the water quality for Coulter Creek is amazing, and there's a lot of good fisheries there. So I'm really excited to get that moving forward. So there's some discussion with regard getting that. I will have a timeline for you here shortly. But we want to get moving on with that. There's also discussion with regard to kind of doing something here at our fairgrounds facility too, as far as master planning, and we'll get going with that as well.
Thank you.
And Casey, just you as a stakeholder for Coulter Creek, you and your organization will be involved as well. I don't know if that's what your question was about, but just want to, since you're here, let you know.
But the primary concern was, just as we've discussed with the North Kitsap parks, as far as public involvement and how the public will be advised of what the progress is going to be for Coulter Creek. If there's going to be a plan, or if there's going to be a queue on the Parks Department web page to go ahead and keep everybody advised. So that was what I was basically trying to ask.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. That will be a major component as far as engaging iterations of the plan, all of it. Yes, I think you'll find that to me, public participation is, if it is the most important component to these things we put together. So yes, sir, that will happen.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, now we're on to old business. Is there any old business? I have one if no one else does right now. Alex, have you gotten any further on the kiosk that's offered for the Olalla boat launch?
Not yet. Still on our list of projects to do, but
well,
hasn't
it's
risen up to, you know, moving it.
What
forward.
is the process? I guess that's my question.
So the location of the kiosk, while it's within the park proper, it also overlays the right-of-way for the road. So we need to do a right-of-way permit with Public Works Department. And
has that been applied for?
No, not yet.
And do you foresee when that would happen?
Likely this fall would be my guess, once we're able to get you know, some breathing room around us.
Okay, and how about the same situation for the porta potty replacement?
That is, I've shared your desire to have a porta potty there with maintenance staff to better understand what the use of it is, and I'll just say it's under consideration at this point. Along with a bunch of other parks, we're trying to come up with a more standardized plan for when and where we locate portalets within our park systems, as they do get a lot of use, and you know, on a seasonal basis as well. We also have, you know, three remaining pit toilets to install across our park system. That needs to be done as well. But yeah, we're working through it.
So is there like an actual schedule for that, or who's in charge of it?
Well,
I
ultimately,
get asked these questions and I keep saying, well, they're working on it, but I'm not getting any real answers, you know?
yeah, the other consideration is, we're nearing the end of the season. But yeah, do you get a lot of requests for it? Because I haven't received a single request for a portalet either.
Well, the reason
understanding
is
demand
because for 2 years, there's been one over at the store for workers, but the public uses them. That's going away because when the store opens, which is unfortunately being postponed now because there was a fire the other night, and it's devastating. They were, getting ready to open, and they had a fire at 2 a.m. and so there's a lot of smoke damage. So that's going to be postponed. But the outdoor, there is still a potty, and the thing is that everyone uses that, but that is going away. So, and you have said yourself, you've gone down there, that parking, you can't get a parking lot space, because even on the spit and going up the valley now, because it's so well used, which is wonderful, by families and people with paddle boards and kayaks and boats and, all of that. So, any given day you're down there, that parking lot is full. And either they have a porta potty or they go under the bridge. So porta potty is going away. So let's try to keep it going on the forefront, because if I could have given you a time, I said they were going to open the store in October, that's when it would be done. Now with this new problem with the fire, that's going to be pushed. So maybe sometime this winter we can make sure that something gets happening.
Sure.
And the same with the kiosk, because we've already missed this season because there's so many kids down there without life jackets. That would have been ideal to have. But, looking forward, I would like to continue to make this happen.
I appreciate the concern, Joanne.
And also we've had a lot of graffiti. Well, not a lot. The county came out and I talked to the guys. I was in the meeting down there, and I saw them painting underneath the bridge with spray cans. Only then they'd have to go out and get a breath, because it's not my department, but I did contact their boss and I said, these guys are getting asphyxiated by this spray, because they had to go out and get a breath, because under the bridge there's small space and there was a lot of graffiti. So anyway, they're working on that, but we have a volunteer that wants to paint those things out as they happen. And so I did download and print the volunteer thing that you have to do, because you have to have approval for the volunteer to do that.
Correct. We have
And
all of our volunteers sign up for liability.
And when I did do that, I did the stewardship brochure too that you have, that the volunteers have to look at.
Okay.
And we need to update, and I know it's just a housekeeping, update the people that are on the board now, because it's got old people.
We're actually in the
Other than-
process of updating the volunteer handbook. It's kind of been in a working format for a little while now. But
okay. And the other thing is I would like the contact for the volunteer coordinators, because I used to know all of them and I know none now. Who are they and how do we contact them?
Sam, you're on the line, right? Do you have a way of folks reaching out to the volunteer coordinators?
Yeah, I can provide my contact right now on chat, or you can just contact us through the office. I think Dee
Well, I
is
looked
setting-
on the office and you guys aren't broken down by how you can be contacted. So I did try that, but you can do it on chat if you want.
Sure, I think Dee's working on a phone system that you call the office, then there's a directory, then you can reach natural resource team.
Natural resource?
Yeah, that's what we call our team, the natural resource division. And
Okay.
Sierra just posted her contact. She's the other natural resource coordinator or volunteer coordinator. And I'll also post mine. And we are
Okay,
working on the
perfect.
volunteer handbook and doing a lot of updates to it.
I appreciate that, and I will get that off the chat.
You're welcome.
Okay. And are you guys designated for certain parts of the county versus like they used to be?
Yeah, we're hoping to make that decision by the end of September. So Sierra started about a month or two ago. So she's kind of been, been kind of working everywhere in the county and trying to figure out what would work best for the three of us, Sierra, myself, and Aaron Bartleson. So hopefully by the end of December, we'll kind of have that division. It'll be north, central, and south.
Right. Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Is there any more old business? Larry?
Well, hi there. You just ran right past me before I could even say anything about Banner.
Oh, sorry.
But
Go ahead, Larry.
Yeah, the old business with Banner is we're still continuing doing brushing work, and also this last weekend we had a work party out there. Moved a lot of gravel in. We're building a turnpike area on Banner Slough, just south of the 53 rescue marker. That's a lot easier to find if you're using MapRicky than me giving you a bunch of trail names. And I would say, Sam, would you say we're about halfway done with that by now?
Yeah, I'd say maybe a little under halfway. I hope we can finish it next month's work party. But yeah, great job. It was a good team effort.
And another cool thing was we picked up 2 volunteers who just saw us going in to start doing the work, and a father-son team joined in on that. And also, as we were going in, we ran into some bicycle riders, told them what we were doing, and they were talking about possibly getting involved. And by the way, Joanne, if you really want to meet up with Sam, second Saturday every month at 9 o'clock at the park, you can come by and meet Sam and bring your work gloves.
All right, second Saturday of the month, Banner. Thank you, Larry. Okay, I guess since we were doing subcommittee reports, and so I guess that's the one you were holding your hand up, and I didn't see your hand, Larry or Linda. So go ahead, Linda.
So I had a report for the Port Gamble Park stewards. So,
okay.
We met on the 8th. Actually, quite a bit of exciting stuff. Lots of work being done on Buzz Cut, which is a trail that will replace a trail that was called Downhill. That the rebuild of that, some of us, and myself included, felt like it was kind of too mountain bike-y. It just didn't feel very pedestrian friendly, and this trail will provide a shared use connection that will be much more, it will only allow mountain bikes uphill, and so it'll be much safer and friendlier for horses and pedestrians. We also have, they have a number of the trails maintenance committee is meeting twice a week for twice a month for work parties on Wednesdays, plus there's Saturday work parties. There's been several work parties with the Rotary on the Shoreline Trail. Some of the next good projects are going to be replacing gradually all the signs. There are blade signs throughout the park, and they've been put out over time and are a little inconsistent. So there'll be several work parties where essentially from north to south through the park, they'll pull a bunch of those signs, relabel them, put all the right stickers on it, the emergency QR codes, and the county identification and all that, and we'll gradually, and probably will take 3 or 4 months to get all those updated. We also there was a report out on the idea of a 501c3. So they had the park stewards had looked at a couple different options, and I think that the goal here is to probably zero in on creating a 501c3 specific for the Port Gamble Park. I know that Alex, it sounded like Wayne had touched base with you on that as well, and that was probably the most appropriate because of the expectation that there would both be a lot of small funds coming in and small funds going out. And the other 501c3 options probably weren't really geared for a kind of small operational issues that the Port Gamble Park stewards are looking at. So they're still moving forward. They've got one of our volunteers happens to be a CPA, which is normally he's out building trails, but it's nice to have a CPA on board. So moving forward in that direction, they'll be reporting back out to the park stewards. Also, we had an exciting presentation by Forterra. Forterra had been the lead fundraiser for the Kitsap Forest and Bay, working on the grants with the county and applying for those at a statewide level. So we had the presentation on an upcoming announcement, and I also received the public announcement today. I'm going to share my screen real quickly. So Forterra has launched, I don't know if you can see my screen here, but this is the launch of Forterra's fundraising campaign to raise money to purchase trees within the Port Gamble Park. So the goal here is to purchase trees on 756 acres that are the county owns the land but does not own the trees. That would, if this is successful, it will purchase about 38, I believe they said, % of the trees in the park that they don't currently own. There has been an anonymous donor that's donated $500,000. I know that the county conservation futures are pitching in a lot of money. I believe that this is a goal of almost $4 million of funding, of which $500,000 is the goal for the community fundraise. So they're working with local nonprofit partners and of course the county in a very major way, but this email came into my inbox today. And there's some maps here that show kind of the highest priorities for where they'd like to focus on preserving trees. It's pretty detailed. And I could forward this, Alex, you probably received this as well, but I could forward it to Alex and maybe Alex could send it on to the rest of the board.
That would be great.
Yeah, I can do that. I actually did not receive it, unless I missed it somehow, but.
It only came in this afternoon.
Oh, okay.
So it just, it's fresh off the.
Yeah, it could be buried. It's been an unbelievably bit.
Yeah, it was titled help us conserve more trees in Port Gamble Forest. So I believe that the total goal there actually is $4.4 million now that I'm reading the notes from the meeting minute. And I know of that $500,000, our forest fund has raised about 52,000, but a lot of the organizations other community organizations are going to try and help get the word out and start fundraising. And that was the primary issues that were covered at the Port Gamble meeting, other than, our expectations that the parks plan or the parks framework would be moving forward. But now it'll be moving forward after SEPA review.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. Okay. That's all I've got.
Anyone else? Central Kitsap? No. Larry, we've done South Kitsap. Okay, anyone else? Okay, we already covered old business kind of with this. Is there any new business? Any new business? I don't see any hands. So I move that we adjourn this meeting.
I
Oops,
will
sorry.
offer that motion.
Oh, okay, Larry. Go ahead and offer it.
Just did. Move we adjourn.
Do I have a second?
I second that motion.
Okay. Thank you all for all your input and all your opinions and concerns, and I appreciate it. We had a good meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.